I'm in Shakespeare Street in Leederville, I think, and what the government's done is they've built a number of these shared streets, I guess you call them, safe shared streets. So what I've done is I've actually come up one street, a couple of streets further across, which is a bit of a main drag, and they've built this one as an alternative, and they call it a safe active street. So the whole thing is being tinted, it's reddish brown, and it's 30 kilometres an hour end to end, and they've extensively modified it with concrete and speed humps, etc., to keep the speed down and all the rest of it. So let's ride it and get first impressions. Every intersection is raised in both directions, so there's absolutely no confusion that it's a slow crossing. I guess the reason they've done this is that's a Catholic school over there. Another thing I've noticed is they absolutely don't mess around when it comes to making it clear about where people can park. They've put in plenty of concrete islands around the place like these. You know, say you can't park there or stop there. Now this next bit's just straight off this Safe Active Streets website. In March 2015, a cycling imagineering workshop was held in Perth with 2 guest Dutch transport planners and 140 leaders from Transport Across Australia, etc. So that's really good. There's not an issue here with the good old not invented here complex. They're happy to learn from others, particularly the Dutch, the experts in this area. So good on the WA government. So a key outcome was the allocation of $3 million to a trial low-speed on-road cycling routes, with the program launching in May 2015, entering its 4th year and gaining traction within the local community. The program is a key strategy to provide safe walking and riding routes through suburbs to local amenities, including schools, parks and shops. So good, they've got that idea firmly in place. These are not just streets that they've picked at random. It's like, oh, let's put a route in here. They actually go somewhere. Schools, parks and shops, fantastic. The department is now working with 9 local governments to progress projects through various stages, blah blah blah. So they're trying to get some more up there. Now, safe active streets, also known as bike boulevards, that's probably a better way of putting it, cycle routes on quiet local streets where speeds have been reduced to 30 kilometres an hour to allow for a safer shared street space. With lower traffic speeds, the streets are much safer for pedestrians and riders of all ages and abilities, as well as for people driving. So again, I think they've got the kind of 8 to 80 rule in place here. The way I found this was completely by accident. I was actually driving up to pick up this PC I'm using and don't have a GPS, turned into the wrong street, and, well, what the heck is this? There were kids riding up and down this street. And I kind of made a mental note of it and thought, I'm going to come back here and have a look at it, which is what I've done. Bike boulevards also form part of wider bicycle networks connecting to off-road shared paths and linking blah blah. Okay. At major entry points to the Safe Active Streets, blue and white Safe Active Street road patches, 30 km/h street speed signs and raised platforms help to slow traffic and alert people that they're in a bicycle and pedestrian friendly space. And look, that's certainly happened to me when I accidentally drove into this street. It was just immediately apparent. There was this great big blue thing in the middle of the road in front of me. The street was narrowed. I went up onto a kind of a slightly raised platform. They're only about maybe 10 centimetres. It was all reddish brown colouring, and of course there was kids and a mum in the middle of the street, so it was pretty obvious it was a slow street. While the design of each boulevard can vary depending on the environment, a range of measures can be incorporated. Single lane slow points where approaching vehicles should give way to any car or bike already at the slow point. And these slow points, I'd call them vicious. By that, you know, they've got concrete islands on opposite sides of the roads, and you really have to slow down to go around them. They're kind of chicanes, but I'd call them evil chicanes. If you're riding, it's not an issue, you don't even notice them, but if you're in a car, you really have to turn the wheel to go around them, and you have to do it slowly. And they also are narrowed down to one lane, so you know, if there are cars coming in opposite directions, then one driver has to stop. Raised platforms at intersections, yep, saw all of those. They're not too raised. I think they could probably actually be raised a little bit more, because I did see some drivers going over them a bit faster than I thought was a good idea, but hey, you know, they're better than nothing. narrowing street widths by introducing on-street parking and plantings. Yep, saw all of that, and you'll notice this, I think, in the video. Sorry about it just being the reverse view. My mounting hasn't turned up yet for my front camera, but you can see the road is tinted red. They obviously put a tint into the asphalt rather than painting it on, and the parking areas on the sides are black. They're just the plain old asphalt. Changing stop give way signs to give priority to movements along the bike boulevards. Hooray! Yes, they've done that in most cases. It's excellent. Using traffic islands and medians to restrict car movements at intersections while allowing movement in all directions of people on bikes and on foot. Yeah, I kind of did see this where they've built out concrete islands. I was kind of wondering what they were for, but what I really did notice is they stopped drivers who are turning in or out of these streets and cutting the corners and going into the streets too fast. So it's a fantastic idea. Introducing new pedestrian or bike crossings. Didn't see any of them on the street. Introducing bike symbol road markings in the centre of each unmarked lane to encourage cyclists to take the lane. Oh, government policy. Lateral shifts in the carriageway to reduce sight lines, i.e. swapping formalised on-street parking and new tree planting nibs from one side of the street to the other. I don't understand what that means, but I don't know if they did it in the street, but hey, it's what they're doing. Additional tree planting and landscaping make them more attractive places to walk or ride. Yeah, absolutely. I thought this was a really nice street to go up and down. Be quite a nice place to live. And one thing I really did notice, just all around Perth, the lack of on-street parking. People park their cars generally on their blocks. They're not clamouring for on-street parking. It's one thing I noticed in this street. There was only in the very last section that there was actually really any on-street parking. Anyway, there's the Shakespeare St bike boulevard and another little street off to the side. I'll see if I can find a few more of these while I'm here, and once I've got the front camera on, I'll go and have a look at a few from the front view as well. But yeah, I think we can certainly learn a lot from this. Clearly, Perth has learned a lot from the Dutch, and they're implementing it. And for Baybug, I think there's some great ideas we could pick up here for the East-West Regional Cycleway from Concord to the Bay Run. So unfortunately, no one from council's probably going to be able to fly over here and ride up and down it and have a look. So I'll try and get some more video that councillors and council staff, etc., can look at, and residents who would be impacted by this. I'll see if I can get some stuff to show them how nice these streets look once this treatment's been put in place. Just to show it's not all hard work, I thought I'd pull into this cafe here on Oxford Street in Leederville. This is kind of like the Majors Bay Road cafe strip, and I stopped and had brekkie to think about what I'd just seen. Really, cafes around here are just great for cyclists. Lots of open air stuff, lots of room to park bikes. There were cyclists coming as I left. There were cyclists arriving as I arrived as well. It was almost a fight for a parking spot. And you'd leave here and straight onto a a bridge going to a railway station and over the freeway. So I mean, just look at the size of this bridge as well. They don't mess around with narrow bridges like the one we used to have over Victoria Road. This thing is nice and wide. It's double the width of, or at least double the width of that old Victoria Road bridge, which was pretty hopeless. And this bridge was huge. And it dropped me out into a shared path on the other side of the road, taking me into the city. Now here's some stuff from the website. If you want to have a look at the details, the background, etc., that's just the stuff I was going through and reading out. What the website does show is there is a bunch of these streets around the place, and I guess once my front camera turns up, I'll see if I can ride every single one of them.